One.
Hello, everybody. We're looking for vengeance, and we want it now. This is Thomas, and with
This is
me
Mike.
Yep, and this is the first to last the Nerdom, and we're going to be looking at the films of Robert Eggers, the mainly the Northman and the Witch. We didn't watch the Lighthouse. We're aware of it,
Mhm.
but and maybe we might check that out at a later time. But we figured our plate will be full with these two movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This was these were two surprises to me. And I had seen this one come out, and we kind of sort of talked about it before a little bit on the side. But this one was these two specifically were really cool. And also a shout out. We have our regular two shows every week. Where we have we cover our main topic on Sundays, usually Sundays, Mondays. Sometimes we can get off track. And then also we do our grab bag. Typically we release that on Wednesday to coincide with the latest comic book release schedule, essentially. And we go through current events, anything and everything with usually we have a few recommendations, etc. But shout out to that. Even if you hate us, tell us why. Or if you love us, tell us why. Or if you have a great idea, tell us why. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And with that, we step into this week's banger, The Northman. This one was not subtle about anything. It was very cinematic. This is a surprise for me too. And this one came out fairly recently, I think.
Yeah, a couple of months back. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm showing the picture is because we have to be careful what we show for the IMDb's homepage. There's a silly little trailer, and then it will infinite play this never-ending stream of things, and sometimes there are some copyright things that come from that, whatever. So we just want to mind our P's and Q's and just focus on the content and what we are. And so we'll cycle through here all the wonderful pictures. But with that being said, this is the Robert Eggers universe, essentially. And not to say that the movies are interconnected, because they're not. But I was unaware of him, and this is his third film. And having and like you said, we didn't pick up the Lighthouse this go around because there's only three, I believe, too, right? He's only done three. But
Yeah,
we
there's a handful of short films, but I haven't seen those. And
yeah, no,
not
that's
sure. Yeah, I'm
way
not sure
beyond
where
the
to find those. Yeah.
right on. Yeah, that's way beyond our scope. But in any case, these two, I gotta say, I am a I didn't even know this existed. First off, so I'm definitely Robert Eggers is on my short list for directors I'll pay attention to when they
Yeah, definitely.
make films, because this was really good. I was surprised by it. It's big, it's epic. There's nothing small about it. Tragic, but that just goes to like a good movie. Not every movie has a happy ending, so to speak. But
Right.
and
Yeah, and this is your classic revenge tale, and it's based off of a Scandinavian story about the main character Amerlet, I think is the name of it, and then and William Shakespeare based Hamlet off of that guy's tale. So
okay.
basically this is Hamlet going back a step to the original source
All right.
material.
See,
And
that's
so they
no wonder why I love it. I was a sucker for Sons of Anarchy, and that was pretty much carbon copied Hamlet in its own right, and it worked very well. So like these things that are recycled, when they're done very well, they're done with a plum. And hats off, man. I mean, this is a big surprise. This is such a nice change of pace too. And it was even better that we could book in this with the other one, The Witch, which was just in its own right, its own tour de force, for sure.
Yeah, and Skarsgård, in the interviews I saw with him, he's been wanting to make a a movie like this for 30 years. And so yeah, he was always on the lookout, and he kind of got close a couple of times, but it failed. But yeah, there was the right synergy when he met Robert Eggers, and they were able to collaborate. So, you could tell by a lot of the actors. The actors want to be there and do a great job. You can see the passion on the screen, um, from him to Ethan Hawke to Willem
Hmm.
Dafoe. Willem Dafoe's just um acting crazy in this one.
Oh
There was
yeah.
no leash put on him on this one.
Yeah,
And
this is all him. Yeah, this is really good. I mean, he's a treat to see in just about everything. I mean, I don't think he does something that is like really terrible at all.
right, right.
But Spider-Man comes to mind because that was the most recent thing that we had to do
Mhm,
because he plays the Green Goblin or whatever. Believe that is right.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I used to not know the goblins and all that with the Spider-Man. Once upon a time.
Right.
Um,
And then Anna Taylor-Joy, she's kind of the tying point between these two movies. She's the main character in The Witch, and then in The Northman, she holds a prominent place too. And she's a great actress. I think
mhm.
The Witch was her first movie role, and then in between that and The Northman, she's done a ton of stuff. And I've enjoyed her in pretty much everything I've seen her in. I've seen a lot. She was in. I've been watching the current season of Peaky Blinders, and she's in
Oh,
that. And
did not
she's
know that.
a lot of people said the Queen's Gambit is great. She's in
Mhm.
that, but I haven't seen that.
I've
Um,
heard really good things about that one, but that's just one I haven't got to yet. But I have also
mhm,
heard good things about it. Know what it's about. Other than I have no idea. I honestly have to look it up, but that's been what we're talking about today. But yeah, the
right.
Nicole Kidman. I don't think there was a bad performance in any of this. I, Everything worked very, very well. I was really impressed with it. And this was a happy surprise because I kind of sort of knew that this was out there.
Mhm,
And I'd never heard anybody say anything bad about it in passing.
mhm,
But also nobody
right.
really posted about it or talked about it all that much either. So something that was good, but just not widely known. I kind of wish this was still in theaters so I could have gone back and like watched it. But
Right.
oh well.
Yeah, and I was looking at the box office success of it, and it didn't do all that well. It didn't recoup its cost at the theater,
Mhm.
but it's when it went to VOD, it's held its own against all these other movies,
Oh,
like Maverick and all those, as far as
really?
sales and stuff. So
That's good.
evidently it's hitting big in the VOD, which is good. It's a lot of people should see this. It's your uh classic movie about revenge and the big brawny guy. There's the early on there's a scene where he's it starts with the Skarsgård's character, uh Amar Amaryllis. He starts off as a child, and then his father is killed by his brother, and then he escapes barely with his life, and he grows up not the prince that he was, just a warrior. And there's this one scene where they're sieging this fortress, or a kind of a, what you call it, just a compound or whatever, and it's
Right,
all
right, right.
one shot of them going over the wall and into the
Really.
little community, and just slaughtering people. And I got
Mm.
when I was watching him just push away through the people, it reminded me heavily of Conan the Barbarian. And then when I
Mhm.
was researching it after the fact, one of the inspirations for Robert Eggers for this movie was Conan the Barbarian movie.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, you could definitely tell there were it 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 had I could see that a lot too. That makes sense. That
Mhm.
makes sense. Yeah, Conan the Barbarian, it was its own good in its own right.
Yeah.
Super practical effects, but the everything was big and wide and oh man. There's I really enjoyed this one. And this one they were both good. Like I said, they all have their own kind of territory that they cover. This is just kind of the self-destructive of prophecy fulfilling itself, I guess, for lack of a better term, for Skarsgård, as he plays the main character. What's his name?
Mhm.
I'm trying to think. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, okay. Well, I can't share that detail right now, but I can offline with you. I noticed something about his birthday that's very interesting to me.
Okay.
That's really cool. Yeah, Amleth. That's right, Amleth.
Yeah.
It's kind of like his saga, essentially. But like you said, like it is also Hamlet, essentially. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, the name Hamlet. Yeah, I can see where Shakespeare came up with the name for it.
right. Not a
Yeah,
stretch.
yeah, yeah. And Eggers, he was a production assistant before he became a writer director, and you could kind of tell from the very detailed, very accurate portray both the witch and the Northman. He's very particular about the look. He wants it error specific. He doesn't want anything that stands out as modern. You in we're titling this the worlds of Robert Eggers because he really creates a world within itself, that world of that at that time, and you really feel like you're watching something from that time. We talked about Prey last week, and there
Yeah.
was the characters of the Indian warriors. They talked like guys currently, the bro guys, and the Indians didn't talk like that back then, which worked for that movie because this is a big
Right.
comic book movie.
Right.
Whereas this one, you could probably it's almost like you're peering in in the 1600s when this was taking place, and not 1600s, but way back, whenever it took
Yeah.
place, and
Right.
seeing
The Age of Vikings.
what yeah, the Age of Vikings, yeah. You could it's sort of like peering in at them and seeing their slice of life there.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And this follows the whole thing. It's just brutal. It's big. It's loud.
Mhm.
It's shocking
Yeah.
in its own right. But it plays true to it. I don't know if this is historically. I really don't care. And that's what
Right.
good movies do. Is like you really don't
Mhm.
care, and there's a fair amount of suspension of disbelief. But that needed none of this because it's true to its form. There's not like some oddball thing that pops out.
Mhm.
Everything's on point.
Yep.
Makes sense. You follow this character to
Mhm. Yeah.
desolation.
Yeah, and you really enter the minds of the characters because these characters believed in those gods and
Hmm.
those myths and whatnot, and so that was very real to them. And so in this movie, and also the witch, those
Hmm.
things that they believe are manifest as real in these movies, and that's just true to that world.
Yeah, the movie makes you believe them
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you're seeing that the world building, like back to backbrace what you're saying before about for the title of our show here today. But it is world building for sure, in and
Mhm.
out. And
Yep.
it's a very rich world. It's very deep. Um, Gosh, like I said, he's like, I'm surprised. Like I just didn't know. I had no clue that this director existed.
Mhm.
And it's
Yep.
just more surprising. Like especially, like just the agony.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
just like kind of like you kind of set at a high point, and then it just kind of goes down from there. Like it's just
Yeah.
like, yep, we're all going to hell. And this is how we get there, so to speak. So
Yeah, and there's there's a thing with modern movies where where they make concessions, like with this was made by a different person. I go, well, the modern audience that they may object to this, so maybe we should
mhm.
do this, maybe we should put this character in, maybe we should do this, do that, and then you end up with something that's kind of a mixed bag of
Right.
whatever. Whereas this, they wanted to stay true to the characters. They wanted to write something that was true to the original story that inspired Hamlet.
Hmm.
There's this richness of what was there, and it's sort of archetypal. Everybody could kind of look at the story and pick out maybe pieces of what they would be, what they would have done in that story, and it just makes it rich as opposed to trying to make everybody happy. When you try to make everybody happy, no one's happy, so to speak.
Right. Right. I was trying to find the thing here. Well, I was gonna say this is just like any good, excuse me, any great movie, really. And then this is like somewhere
Mhm.
between good and great, somewhere there, more towards great than
Mhm.
good, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But also of note is the soundtrack. To
Mhm.
this
Oh yeah.
too, it just like, again, like when you have that trifecta of like cinematography, some kind of effects thing going on, the characters, actors, and then there's the plot,
Mhm.
obviously the storyline, and then the thing that is always there in the background, which is the sound. So the soundtrack
Mhm.
is
Yeah,
really good.
and and to those landscapes. I read that they filmed a lot in Iceland, but it was expensive filming there, so most of it was filmed in Ireland, which kind of took place for Iceland. And
Okay.
those landscapes, those broad vistas, are just gorgeous and beautiful, and you sort of just kind of fall into that world when you're seeing them walk across or ride
Yeah. Big.
horses across. Yeah.
Yep. Panoramic. You're like, they're going along or whatever, and then all of a sudden they zoom out, and then you have your central character. Like, it's just that's why I say I'm really disappointed that I missed out on the chance to see this on like a big screen, or even better
Yeah.
IMAX or whatever.
Yeah, that would have
Um,
been nice. Yeah.
would have been just extra special on top of it, because it would have been
Yeah.
a surprise. But
Yeah.
yeah, everybody gets it in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a mystic woman early on in the movie that kind of sets him on his course. That's kind of that has no eyes.
Mm.
That's, I didn't realize it, but that's Bjork, the singer Bjork.
Oh, I wondered about that.
And yeah, and she's kind of instrumental in it because Robert Egger had visited Iceland a few years before making the movie, and had met her, and she introduced him to the writer Shajan, I think is his name. He's the co-writer of the script, so he was when Skarsgård hit Egger up for maybe doing the movie, he remembered that guy, and he co-wrote the movie with him. And so I guess I'm sure that's why Bjork got pulled into it as a somewhat of a thanks for getting everybody together.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, I'm a fan of Bjork's music from way back in
Mhm.
the day.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it was, everybody goes through phases or whatever, but
Hmm.
I'm not a super fan, and I would not be able to name one album. But
So,
um,
yeah. Yeah.
regardless,
My yeah, I like her too. My music is all over the place. So
right, right,
uh
right. It's just
yeah,
like
kind
one that you
of.
revisit here and there, and then you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I remember this album. This album was dope, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. It depends on my mood, the time of year, yeah, the
Yeah.
whole kind of deal.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah.
which is good because, like you said, you kind of rediscover that music artist, and that way you don't get bored by it. If you listen to the same thing over and over, you kind of get bored.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It's fun to revisit the classics, so to speak.
Hmm.
Yeah, just everything about this was like and this is like one of those movies too, like where if the director doesn't have their lighting down, this is like kind of a dumb point, but like there are movies that are just like super dark and they never lighten
Hmm.
up, and those are kind of disappointing if you don't have the right equipment, like in a
Hmm.
theater, like where that's
Hmm.
that's totally fine, but like at home, this is like, I can't call one to mind, but this one was pretty dark, but it got it right. Of course, it was
Right.
balanced out by the lush landscapes that
Hmm.
you see
Yeah,
and
yeah,
encounter.
and much like Kubrick, when he made Barry Lyndon, that's notorious for him filming it all by natural lighting, like candlelight and whatnot. And The Witch in this movie is done that way. It's all lit by natural lighting. There's no extra Hollywood lighting thrown in to brighten things up. And yeah, it's really, really puts pressure on the cinematographer to make sure they get, like you said, get it right.
Right.
So that you can see what's actually going on.
Exactly. Yep.
And
Yeah.
mhm.
Like again, everything makes. They even have the aurora borealis, like more. It's like well, if I was tripping balls, and I was part of that pantheon, or that pantheon was part of my social structure, I would imagine that's probably what I would see for.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they get there's very, I don't know how much CGI is in this movie, but it's all seamless, and even when he's fighting that
It
ancient
belongs.
skeletal king, there was, with CGI a lot of times it's very floaty, and especially with those like in game and those Avengers movie,
But
everything is sort of floaty and doesn't seem to have any weight to it.
yeah,
Whereas that
it hasn't been flattened with the image. Like it
Mhm.
it it, it sticks out like somebody copy and paste it. It's kind of hard to describe, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that and also just, when they punch it, there doesn't seem to be, it's still kind of floaty, and doesn't have that brutal impact, whereas that fight with the that skeletal king, you could feel those punches, you could see him
Oh
getting
yeah.
thrown around, and there, it really takes a good director to make you believe that thing's real. Where, like with the Avengers, you always know that it's CGI, and you never kind of get lost in that world, so to speak. It's always sort of that comic booky kind of watching it from the page.
Yeah. This everything belongs. Everything belongs, like from every. I mean, there's not a part that like kind of pops you out of it or whatever.
Hmm.
It
Yeah,
continues on, and it's
yeah,
just really good.
yeah, and it's from, if you just tell the story verbally, it's pretty simple. It's a basic revenge tale, but
Right.
it's so much weighted down by emotions, and this is the kind of movie that I love, because going back to kick Marvel around a little bit more, with those movies, especially with the big epic battle at the end, when I'm having trouble relating or feeling something for the characters,
Mhm.
a lot of times those battles, I kind of just, my brain just turns off, and after a minute or two, I was like, what happened? I wasn't really following what was going on, just because
Right.
I'm not invested in what's going on. But with this, you he spends time getting into the head of the character, so that when there is those big battles, when he is fighting, you're invested. You want to see what happens to this character,
Right. You want to
and
see what
that's
comes next. You want to see the next
Mhm.
page. You want to see the next
Yeah,
chapter. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and he really has you examining the price of revenge,
Hmm.
and getting revenge, and if you go ahead with that, what weight and what price you're going to pay for doing that.
Right. What you give up quite a bit.
Mhm.
Right. Right. Cla-
Exactly.
Yeah.
and it,
Classic
and it
revenge.
leads yeah, it leads it up to you to decide whether or not that was a good thing or not.
Again, like a great movie. Like that. That
Uh,
is what a good movie does. It kind of it sets up a question, then it answers the question, and then it kind of leaves you with like, how did you feel about it? Or what do you think of
mhm.
that? That kind of thing.
Yeah,
In a way.
yeah,
But like, so
yeah.
again, like these are things that like where Eggers doesn't treat the audience as dumb. Like
Mhm.
like and again, to kind of get my licks in for Marvel, it's kind of fast food, or just cheap. Like, yeah, it'll leave you okay, but like you'll want, you'll want another one, until you don't. And when you don't,
Mhm.
then you really want something that lasts, sticks to you.
Mhm.
Like again, like these are the kind of movies that do that. Movies that I think we both like the same kind of movie that like leaves you with a certain kind of feeling.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing about this movie is they're not cardboard characters.
No,
Who truly is the villain in this?
right,
Is there a villain?
right. Well, again,
Because Mhm.
yeah, this it leaves you the audience to figure it out for yourself. Like, what do you
Mhm.
think about? How do you feel?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
was
because
right? Exactly.
yeah, because there's a revelation that he has with his mother later in the movie where it kind of turns his world on its head, and
Hmm,
he has to kind of rethink things.
right,
And yeah, the villain that you thought was a villain isn't really. And do you go ahead and pursue what you originally planned or not? And that's really kind of a cool idea that it makes you really think, and again get heavily invested in the story and to see where it's going to go.
right. Well, what the true cost is. Was it worth it? Maybe
Yeah.
not. I don't know. Like, excuse me, definitely has such deep, like it just everything works. Not
Yeah.
there's not one rough edge to this or a questionable thing of like why did they do that? None of that. It just flew.
Exactly.
And how long was it too? Like I didn't pay attention to
uh
that.
it's a little over 2 hours, I think 2 hours and 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yep. 2 hours and a quarter
Yep.
plus two.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Ye-
Anything else to say about this before we rotate over?
no, I think we kind
I
of
think we got
got
everything.
it. Got him.
Yeah, got him. For sure. Which leads us into our next film by Robert Eggers is The Witch. I didn't know this existed before we talked about it. And we kind of planned out what we were going to see. And then when I got to this week, I was like, okay, what is this? Okay. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah,
Holy
this
shit. This one,
Mhm.
I mean, and the brutality in the Northman was expected. Okay.
Mhm.
But this, it was a lot more waiting to get you. It doesn't
Yeah.
take long. But this one and I'm be fascinated. And I think this one took place um before the Salem witch trials or whatever. So like that's like a different, but that kind of sort of casts a shadow, so to speak, or you
Mhm.
get to that eventually. But I'll let you set this one up because you do it way better than I can. But yeah, and this tagline here, "Evil takes many forms." Yeah, that is definitely a hint of like what's ahead.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and so we're kind of doing it as backwards as in the sense that The Witch came first. It came out in 2016, and
Yeah,
Northman came out this year. But yeah, we were kind of saving this for last because this is, I don't know about Mike, but this is my favorite of his movies.
yeah,
Uh,
I would agree with that. I enjoyed this on a level that I wouldn't have been able to enjoy the Northman, but the Northman wouldn't have taken you there either.
Mhm.
This one is like this, and this is what I love about this dabbles into the psyche sphere, so to speak, and you are like left with like this sticky residue, for lack of a better term, and it doesn't go away, and you're like, damn,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, not
like what did I just see, and why did she do that, and like, and then you're like, okay, well I can kind of understand how it ended. I'm not gonna spoil it, but like how it ended like
yeah.
it did, it makes perfect sense in
Mhm.
one realm, but then again it's kind of like it really, this one kind of like, this one also like leaves you with like these other bigger questions of like, do we really have will? You know, do we truly have willpower, or is will, or is it anyway? I'll leave it there because I could wax poetic for too
Yeah.
long on that topic.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, one of the things okay, so this is The Witch.
mhm,
It's spelled the W spelled with two V's.
right,
And that's the thing about Robert Edgar. He was born and raised in New Hampshire, and one of the things that he was always fascinated all his life was with the Salem witch trials. And I'm also a historian, or well, I majored in history in college, and I was kind of focused on early America. And one of my big papers that I did was on the Salem witch trials. So that's kind of the soft spot that I have for this movie, because this movie kind of encapsulates everything I researched and know about Salem witch trials, and I
Right.
know that he knows it front and back too. So and then there's not a point in the movie where I'm like, nah, that doesn't sound right. Nah, I don't think that it's everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Everything's perfect, and basically it's a story of a family that's kind of gets outcast
Hmm.
from this colony, and they decide to break out on their own and have a little farm out in the woods, and it's on the edge of a big dark woods.
Hmm.
In at that
Which is a character
time,
in and of itself too.
oh
Like
yeah,
that
absolutely.
forest, like it's totally
Mhm.
Amityville, right? The house is a
Uh-huh.
character.
Uh-huh.
That is just as true with the forest, because everybody's constantly like looking over it
Yeah.
at it, like there's evil over there somewhere, or
Yep.
that there's something going on there. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
And that's true to the times. The people at that time believed in witches. They believed in magic.
Hmm.
They believed that the woods were dark and evil. Don't go into the woods by yourself. Don't, it's best to just stay out of that. There, and in my research, uh when I was researching, they found artifacts to where, yes, there was people actually practicing white magic, and this doesn't go over into the movie. Do you know why horseshoes? Uh, why horseshoes are lucky?
Uh-uh. Mm-mm.
It's because back then they thought Satan and the devil moved in circles. So,
Oh, okay.
so,
Interesting.
so the devil could not stay in a horseshoe. He comes out of
Okay.
either,
Okay.
and so
Interesting.
that's why horseshoes are lucky. And one funny anecdote that I read in my research, this one guy thought his, I think it was his cow or his horse, was possessed, and the way that they were going to extinguish the demon was by lighting the horse's farts on fire, and it
Okay.
ended up burning down the the barn
That's funny.
when
That's
that
funny.
happened. But yeah,
Interesting.
but to get back to the movie, so that he takes those accounts, and also he also Eggers read a bunch of diaries and histories from that time, and the
Okay.
way it's one of the things that people do complain about the movie is the dialogue is kind of thick with how they talked at the time, so it's sometimes hard to understand them. And but I love that because it kind of really
I
brings you
I
into that world.
I didn't trip on that at all.
Mhm.
I thought it was like part of the normal. Like again, this goes back to like where everything in its place. Nothing begs the question of why did they do that.
Mhm.
I did not get that vibe at all. If anything, to kind of be lame for a second, like so this, I would picture this would be in the same universe. Like let's just say Blair Witch, right? Not the first one, but
Mhm.
the second one, like where they kind of go into the lore. I kind of
Mhm.
see this inhabiting that same space a little bit, but not lame.
Mhm.
like they're this is what I picture, like where it's just that you don't know what you don't know, you know, pardon my, well, you don't know what the fuck to make of some certain things. But yeah, that there is, and this is very graphic too. This is not something that you want to play for kids.
No,
You
no,
know, like
no, not at all.
you want teenagers, if not adults, outright adults, in my personal opinion. But
Mhm. Yeah.
take that as it will. But this is its
Yeah,
own thing.
there's really some tough scenes. There's a
Very
scene where
brutal.
one of the boy, the oldest boy, is seems to have a demon inside him, and he's trying to he's writhing around trying to get it out, and that's such a intense scene. And yeah.
Yeah, they don't like babies in this movie too, I would say.
Yeah.
Which also,
Yeah.
viewer be warned. I won't say anything beyond that, but like,
Yeah, if you have if you're triggered, I hate the whole trigger warning thing, but if you're triggered by of children peril, this is not the movie for you.
no. Yeah,
Stay
and
far
also,
away.
yeah, if you're a new parent, don't watch this. You don't want to
Yeah.
watch this. If you're a brand new parent, or even if your kiddo is under, baby age or whatever, and I mean like all the way up to like 2, 3, 4, years old, don't watch this.
Yeah.
Unless you're cool, then well, you'll see what you'll see. But in any case,
Yep. Yeah,
there's
and
viscera is the word that comes to mind. There's a lot of
yeah.
viscera in this, and it's all over.
Exactly. And again, they I think he wanted to film in New Hampshire because that's where he kind of pictured this taking place.
Okay.
But they couldn't find a good location there, so they ended up going up to a remote spot in Canada. They they didn't have any cell service or anything, so they were kind of isolated in that wooded area, which kind of probably made it um, even better for for filming because no one
No
would there
leaks,
was yeah there's no distractions, yeah. And
right?
he brought in carpenters and people that were familiar with how they made houses
Okay.
and did
Yeah.
things back in that time. So it was all authentic. They researched the clothing, made sure it was authentic. And in fact, on the Blu-ray for The Witch, there's a 30-minute interview panel where they did a kind of a special screening at a historical society, and they had a couple of historians there, and to kind of talk about the movie. And one of them said that one of the things that him and his students have fun with was watching period piece movies and kind of pointing out all the wrong things that
Mm.
or all the things that wouldn't be accurate at that time. And he said we found nothing with this
Right.
movie. There's nothing out of place.
Good.
So and that
Good.
that even if you're not looking for that, even if you don't even notice that kind of thing, you do kind of subconsciously. It kind
Mhm.
of really puts you into that world, and that love and care that Eggers puts into that world, like this and the Northman. You could sense it, you could feel it. There's you really take it away into that world. And there's with the humans in this, because there's some demons in here,
Mhm.
and witches. With the humans, there's not a evil person in this. The mother kind of gets hysterical, but you understand why she does things she does, and the father. And the only thing that
A
the
lot of
little
trickery.
yeah, but
A lot of trickery. One on like where individual characters are carved off one by one by one. And they're kind of they descend into a certain kind of trickery. Um, with
and
everything going on.
there's a goat, Black Phillip. Now that's evil.
Oh, for sure.
That goat is
That,
evil.
that's a big hint. Especially like where we opened on the movie poster with the goat front and center. That is definitely that a prominent evil that is well, I don't want to give it away, but if I say the thing, then it might impact it. If you want to say it, you can, but I won't. But yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I have a love for witches. Like a few months back, we did Suspiria, so I guess
Hmm.
I have a
Oh yeah.
fascination with witches. This might make a good double feature, maybe. I don't know, kind of
Yeah.
weird. And because it's so colorful, the Suspiria, the original one, is so colorful,
It
whereas
is.
this one's so drained of color. When I was going back to I watched it previously. Not soon after the Blu-ray came out. I got that and watched it. And then when I was going back to watch it, I was like, I think this was in black and white. And then I go, no, it's in color.
Right.
But it's so drained of color, you don't even oftentimes you don't notice the color until like a big splash of blood that kind of
Right.
stands out with this movie. And and
In a big
on
way.
and on a second rewatch, I loved it even more. So just because you start noticing a little bit more. Then I was watching Sardonicast, or not watching, but listening
Mhm.
their podcast, and one of the things they mentioned, they said you haven't really seen a movie until you've seen it twice, and
Mm.
it's kind of an interesting statement, and I almost kind of agree. There's certain movies that you could definitely watch once and be done with it. Maybe like the Marvel, some of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But
Or there are other movies that like where you can see them in one time and you're not going to get anything out of them.
yeah.
That statement is true for sure. I could almost agree with that. But yeah, I mean, you see the movie and then you're blown away by the whole thing. You miss whole chunks of dialogue, or whatever, or
Yeah.
you miss,
Yep.
or the inverse. Like you don't realize like how much the sound score plays in building the
Mhm.
tension, sometimes.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, for
Yep.
sure.
And I know with Monty Python Holy Grail, everybody laughs about the evil bunnies, but in this, I guarantee you'll be scared of a hare.
Oh hell yeah. Oh yeah. 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 And there's a blood also has like a blood has a place in this whole thing too.
Mhm,
Like where
mhm.
it's symbolism and everything beyond that too.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah. And this again, it recreates that world, and again, magic and evil was and witches was very real to these people. And that's when you kind of look at the Salem witch trials from our modern eyes, we're like, how in the world did these people get caught up in this?
Right.
But it was very real to them. They didn't have science scholars there saying, "Oh no, this wouldn't happen." This is very real to them, and
No.
and you could see in this kind of microcosm of a family, he kind of recreated the Salem witch trials. He shows you how those people at that time, through all the adversity that they were experienced, they could transfer all of what evil was transpiring to the girl Thomas, where she's innocent. Maybe up at the end, we'll leave that to your discretion.
Right.
But she's this innocent woman coming into maturity as a woman,
Hmm.
in that's sort of kind of breaking the family at the start of the movie. But as it goes, as with the Salem witch trials, where it was mainly women, there was only one man that got accused of being a witch. It was all women outside of that. And one of
Interesting.
the interesting things that I found in the research was that they found that it started off with the younger girls, accusing them of being witches, but as it progressed and they were finding witches everywhere, it turned
Mhm.
out to be that they mainly focused on older women that whose husband has passed away and that they had
Oh.
wealth. There were
Okay. Okay.
in
That makes sense.
yeah, in that society, the old woman with wealth, there wasn't a place for her in this society, and she had something that other people wanted, but they weren't malicious in the sense that in their heads they weren't going, okay, we'll just call her a witch so that no, it was in the movie kind of portrays it as shows as they really believed in witches. So it was just the things that they targeted, that was the easy target
Okay.
to lay this on. All the ills that were being experienced by the people at that time. Everybody needs a villain. Today there's we could probably point out someone that everybody half of the population is targeting.
Right.
But yeah, everybody needs a villain, and I kind of thought about that. And there's witch hunts are being performed today. This movie uh taking a slice from the past, but
Hmm.
it's done in an archetypical way so that you
Right.
could apply a lot of that to today. And different people could find different things from this. Like with Thomason, a feminist can see kind of see her journey as a strong woman that
Right.
wasn't
That's true.
gonna she wasn't going to be locked down into that Puritan world. That world wasn't really her. There was something in her that wanted the freedom, and in that's and a feminist could latch on that and follow
Right.
that, whereas someone else could find something else
Well,
in the
and
movie.
well, and this movie does a great job of showing perspectives and points of view.
Mhm. Yep.
Ultimately, you're kind of embedded by default to her point of view. I would argue, but you definitely see like where, look, you can be part of this world, and it seems like everything a part of the normal world, like the Puritan kind of, like the wind blows and something does something. Oh, we must be in reverence to God, or what? I'm kind of making fun a little bit. Uh, or, but it seems like from her point of view, every single time that pops up, there's something slanted against it, like that says like,
Mhm.
well, no, not really. Versus like this other side of the world, like where it's very earthly. It's a world full of secret hidden knowledge. And I
Mhm.
think one of the taglines are said something about like, it feels like we're not supposed to be seeing something, and that's kind of a good, interesting take on the movie, because you are like, there's like this kind of, if you go further, you'll see into this world, and the more you see, it's brutal, but still, if you can ignore all that, and kind of not be caught or by victim of it, or become its victim, then you can kind of see, again, this kind of the default point of view
Mhm.
is her journey into
Mhm.
her next state, or her next life, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to
Mhm.
give too much away, but it's kind of friggin' obvious. But aside from that, this
Yeah,
one
and
took me by surprise. I didn't know what
mhm,
to expect. I didn't know
mhm,
what was going to happen. Um, I think I actually I did watch the Northman first,
uh,
and then because I knew what I was getting into with that, because I had a little bit more knowledge,
mhm.
so I kind of was like, okay, cool. And then like I went on to watch this, and it was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
damn. And Northman, and that's high praise, but it was even
Mhm,
better than like the
mhm,
heights that Northman reached for me. This one
mhm,
like reached even higher one.
mhm,
And like left you like, I love that journey into the
mhm,
psyche sphere of like whatever. This is a little bit more on the nose, like for what's going on in this world, but
mhm,
there's definitely magic.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
evil is very
Mhm,
well represented in this, on this side of the
mhm.
equation anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and I at work a few months back, when we were having our turnover meeting, uh
Mm,
we sometimes we'll just kind of BS a little bit before the meeting starts.
mhm.
Well, one person said, "Oh, well, they don't make good horror movies anymore." I was like,
They
dude.
did not say that. They did not say that.
Yeah, I was like,
Were they
what about
young?
uh, no, they were older. um
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
and I was
Anyway,
like,
go on. Sorry.
yeah, I was like, you got The Witch, you got the Babadook, you've got
Oh yeah.
Hereditary and Midsummer, and they were like, I don't know any of those movies. I was like, well, that's why. That's why you're saying what you're saying.
Right, right, right.
There's some great movies out there. Yeah, yeah, and there's and then that's another thing. A lot of directors that are coming in now, they're rich in history of horror movies, so that they know what works, and they could go in and make a thoughtful, interesting horror movie like this. This is the kind of horror movie that I love. I can take your slasher movie again; those are just popcorn movies. But
Right.
yeah, this is the bread and butter of horror.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, this is obviously a little bit more supernatural than what I like, but still, it still hits in that same spot of like, what the fuck is going on? Just like where, but I like my shows and my movies like this, like to have like an edge of supernatural otherness, the unknown, in a more general term. And this one,
Yep.
again, had no clue this existed.
Yeah.
But my world is better for knowing this did. And of these two, I'm definitely going to be watching this one very shortly again, because and there's nothing wrong with the Northman at all. It's just like this one is more compelling. I'm sure I missed a lot on this, like, and I agree.
Yep.
This kind of goes back to you quoted those folks that said that really don't see a movie until the second time. For sure, that is true in this one, but this is like one like where you want to watch it again right away, and that's rare for me. Typically, like once I see a movie, I'm good, especially if it's something in a very well-worn genre. Wonderful. But having said that though, but in defense of that, to not be a jerk, there's like one or two Marvel movies that I really like to rewatch because the value is there, and I love it. And I just love that movie, I'll watch those in rotation fairly often, as it goes. But this is definitely one that I want to rewatch and share with I want to watch this with other folks and like introduce them to this too.
I was happy.
So, like watch it a third time, like in that vein, and it's like, oh yeah.
I was happy to introduce it to you. And then I also love the actors in this, Anya Taylor-Joy, that she's amazing in this. And
perfect.
The father in this, it would be real easy, since he's a Puritan father, to make him kind of stern, which he is stern. But you see where he's coming from, and you immediately, once when he was going out hunting with his son, you could really relate to him and see where he's coming from, and really understand his headspace, and like that guy. You're kind of the in a sense that the family may be doomed, but the whole time you're kind of rooting for them, but yeah, things just keep on happening. And then I also love the two little kids. And they were at times they were very creepy, and
God, yeah.
The way he got them to act in the movie, I was kind of mystified at how he got the performance out of them. And then I was watching the interview again, the panel that they gave in Salem, and he said, to all intents and purposes, the kids thought they were making a Disney movie, which is stunning for what went on in it. And he goes, like when they're scared, he goes, like with the younger boy, I was like, okay, open your mouth and look a little concerned, and breathe heavier, breathe heavier. And he goes, and then you get scared, then you got that scene where he's scared and he has no clue.
Right. Yeah, the great acting, great everything.
You can tell from
awesome.
That he has a great care for his actors, and he knows how to get the performance without abusing them. Again, to go back to Kubrick, he was notorious for abusing and taking it a little too far.
Old school.
Along with Hitchcock.
Right, old school, like where they'd strike them or what, like whatever. Yeah. Not really, but yeah.
And that's, even though he's only done 3 movies with the Northman, there's a return of a few of the actors, and like the Anya, there's an interview with her for the Northman saying, Edgar's making a new movie. Yes, I want in.
Yep. Yep, definitely. This kind of follows like great talent attracts other great talent. Kind of like Quentin Tarantino, like like when he was nobody, but then he started to build momentum. You would have the same, kind of folks follow along, and they would just be right place, right time, and they know how to fulfill that really, really very well, for sure. Just gonna see if he
the
had
only thing
followed
I
along.
the only thing I hate is this movie came out in 2016. He
Mhm.
didn't make another movie till about 2019
Right, the
with the
Lighthouse.
Lighthouse,
Right.
and then a few years later, Northman. He needs to make. I know, he probably needs that time to really fine tune a movie. I just
hmm
wish he had more movies coming out
Yeah,
faster.
I am more along the lines of like I'll just let it be. And when they're in a role, they're in a role, just like Denis Villeneuve. Like let him do whatever fuck he wants. Like he can take his time, whatever. We'll be good. I'll be good, whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, not much to say then. Like of the two, and I actually this has got me excited to see the Lighthouse. Like I don't even know what the hell it's about, but I know that like what I'm working with from the Northman and from the Witch, I won't be disappointed. I would be
Yeah.
very surprised if it didn't hold up in its own right. And that's what's great about this, because he's such a great he's on destiny for greatness for sure.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
his vision, he's got that perfect blend of his mind's eye, and he knows how to put that on and let you see what he sees, for the whole thing, which is always great.
Yeah. Yeah, and as a footnote for the thing, say that we talked about all the worlds of Robert Eggers, is that the Lighthouse, it is black and white, and
Okay.
it's in uh the aspect ratio of both the Northman and the Witch were widescreen. The Lighthouse is 4:3, like the
Oh.
aspect ratio of old televisions,
Huh.
that square, and that lends into the very close claustrophobicness of being in a lighthouse, which is very,
hmm
very genius of him to do that. It stars Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, and basically there's a couple of other actors in it, but it's basically those two. So it weighs heavily on their acting, and it's much like the other movies in that he creates this world of this lighthouse, and there's a sense of this cosmic H.P. Lovecraft evil that comes from the ocean. And I'll leave it at that. Yeah,
All right.
it's definitely worth checking out. I've only seen it once,
Okay.
and it wasn't favorite. I would love to revisit it to see what my second viewing is like, and maybe it's something we can look at in the future.
Oh, we for sure will cover this later on. Absolutely, and this fits part and parcel with what we've already covered with. We've kind of gone to the very border of H.P. Lovecraft. We've not kind of hopped over a little bit, like a small
Yeah.
foray into it, and then we kind of come back. But yeah, absolutely. I will be down to watch this for sure in the future. But yeah, this is to knock out. Like I said, you get hit from the right side, then you get hit from the left side, then you get kneed in the groin, and like that, it kind of leaves you stunned, dazed. Like, what did I just see?
Yeah,
It's a little bit more.
he worked you over like Rocky.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Of the two though, Northman is a lot more concrete. Just from the retelling of Hamlet the umpteenth time, but it's done perfectly.
Yeah.
Again, this is like where you can absolutely repeat past storylines, put your own take on it, and walk away completely satisfied. And something sort of again, in whatever era you live in, there's nothing wrong with having a list of great movies, and these are two of them for sure that you should put on your list and see sooner than later.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. Well,
I
with that,
concur. Yeah.
yeah, and thanks again, man. Like you are my guide. You are my spirit guide as we
I
walk
try.
through, through these again, great happy surprises for sure. Didn't even know what was coming. With the Northman, I kind of saw like a little bit, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like I would naturally see that anyway, probably, but not anytime soon. but this kind of hopped it up on the list, and The Witch was just like
Mhm.
its own thing. It was
Yeah,
great.
sort of that buried treasure that you might not have ever seen.
Absolutely, yeah. And with that, I've been
Mhm.
Mike,
And I'm Thomas,
and we'll see you.
in the woods.